A scholarship kid at Northwood University spikes a celebrated professor's drink, hoping to change his fate. I'm the only one who sees it. To protect the professor's pristine reputation, my fiance's reputation, I discreetly switch the glasses. But I never imagined the drug drink would end up in the hands of a Manhattan socialite, or that she and the scholarship kid would be discovered in bed together, creating a scandal that echoed through our entire circle. He was ruined, expelled, shamed. He jumped from the roof of the library. When the professor, my fiancée, found out, she dismissed it with a flick of her wrist. Bad choices have consequences. He got what he deserved. A year after we were married, she drugged me and had me dragged to a notorious private club in the city. The things that happened there were worse than death. It was only then that I understood. That poor scholarship kid, he was the ghost she could never exorcise, the sainted memory she held against me. Reborn, I'm back at that same party, watching it all unfold again. This time I do nothing. Except now, it is the brilliant professor who kneels before me, broken and begging for a scrap of mercy. Evelyn Reed was the one who killed me. It was on the first anniversary of our wedding, the same day the scholarship kid had died. The shock of ice-cold water jolted me awake, and for a moment, I thought I was already in hell. The new project contract I had just signed, the one I had been so excited to show her, was still clutched in my hand. I looked up at her. Dr. Evelyn Reed, the pride of Northwood's literature department. The woman I loved regarded me with eyes that were dark and utterly insane, like a predator about to devour its prey. Does it hurt? She whispered, her fingers digging into my jaw. She forced a bottle to my lips, and the burn of straight whiskey flooded my throat. I choked, coughing, the liquid fire searing my lungs. The stench of it made me sick. I stared at her, my mind reeling. Evelyn, why? She turned away and snapped an order to two burly men I'd never seen before. They grabbed my arms and dragged me from the room. I was powerless, hauled across the polished floors like an animal to slaughter. I don't know how long it took, but we ended up in a cemetery. They forced my head down, slamming my face again and again into the cold, wet granite of a tombstone. Rain poured down, mixing with the blood streaming from my forehead. The things people said about Leo, the shame he felt, it was 1,000 times worse than this. Evelyn's voice was a venomous hiss above the storm. You're going to pay for what you did to him, Ethan. You'll pay for it all. The name, barely a whisper in my drug-addled mind, took a moment to place. Leo Vance. I remembered him. Faded jeans that had been washed 100 times, a face that was almost too delicate, too beautiful. He wasn't just a student under Evelyn's advisement. He was a scholarship kid, an outsider in the gilded world of Northwood University. At our engagement party, he tried to drug her. To protect her, to keep the scandal from touching her, I had quietly switched the glasses and said nothing. But the drug champagne had been picked up by some reckless it girl, an heiress with a reputation. Later, she and Leo were found in a staff lounge, their clothes in a heap on the floor. With her family's lawyers backing her up, she claimed he had assaulted her, that he'd been trying to blackmail her. The university, the media, our entire social circle, they crucified him. Unable to bear the accusations, Leo had jumped. When the news reached Evelyn, her public reaction was cold, detached. A twisted mind, she'd said. He got what he deserved, but she had held that grudge in her heart for a year. A year of playing the perfect couple, the brilliant professor and her devoted husband, the pair everyone envied. The entire time, she believed I had orchestrated his downfall. She believed I killed him. This isn't justice, Ethan, she snarled, her face a mask of hatred. This is just you getting what you've had coming to you. The drugs were really hitting me now. My limbs felt like lead. She watched me, her gaze as cold as the tombstone against my cheek. I have a special gift for you, Ethan. I do hope you enjoy it. A door opened, and a blinding light made me flinch. Without another glance, without a single shred of the love I thought we'd shared, Evelyn turned and walked away, leaving me to face the endless, terrifying dark. I died that night, stripped of my clothes, my dignity, my life. The room was painted crimson with my blood. After my death, Evelyn told the world I'd been cheating on her, that I died in a freak accident while pursuing some depraved thrill. And she, the grieving widow, the brilliant Dr. Reed, moved on, pitted and admired, climbing even higher. When I open my eyes again, I see Leo Vance holding a tray of champagne flutes. Clumsy fool. Can't you even carry a tray of glasses? A catering manager is hissing at him. This is a major event. We can't afford a single mistake. One more screw up like this, and you're fired. Champagne has sloshed everywhere. The kid is a mess. Leo takes the verbal lashing, his jaw tight, but he stands ramrod straight, like a pine tree in a storm. I'm so sorry. I'll be more careful. I promise, he says, bowing his head. The manager, satisfied with his apology, mutters a few more warnings and stomps off. The moment the manager is out of sight, Leo turns his back. A small packet appears from his sleeve. With a flick of his wrist, a fine white powder disappears into a nearby glass. The glass that was meant for Evelyn. When I opened my eyes again, I saw Leo Vance holding a tray of champagne flutes. Are you kidding me? Can't you even carry a tray? A manager was snapping. Do you have any idea how important tonight is? One more screw-up and you're out of here. The catering hall was a blur of motion. Spilled champagne glistened on the floor around the server's feet. Leo stood there, taking the abuse, his lips pressed into a thin line, his posture defiant. I'm sorry, sir. It won't happen again. He bowed his head quickly. The manager seemed mollified and walked away. But as soon as his back was turned, Leo furtively sprinkled a white powder from a hidden packet into one of the glasses. The one meant for Evelyn. In my last life, Evelyn was about to be my wife. I wanted nothing more than her happiness, her success. I worried a scandal like this, a student drugging his professor, would destroy her career. So I just switched the glasses. I didn't want to ruin some poor kid's life over a desperate, stupid mistake. Who could have known? Who could have guessed that she was secretly in love with him and would carry that hidden obsession to her grave and mine? It wasn't until my blood stained the cold tile floor that I finally understood. The affection she'd shown me over the years wasn't love. It was just expertly concealed, bone-deep hatred. This time, I'll be happy to help the star-crossed lovers find their destiny. As expected, without my interference, Evelyn picks up the tainted glass. Standing just behind her, Leo sees her take a sip, and a triumphant smirk flashes across his face. I turn away, ignoring them both, and strike up a conversation with a business associate. Within 15 minutes, I see it happening. Evelyn's breathing grows shallow. Her face flushes, and she fans herself with her hand. I step toward her, feigning concern. Evelyn, are you all right? Maybe the heat is getting to you. Do you need to sit down? Hearing my voice, Leo rushes to her other side, placing a hand on her arm. Mr. Sterling, I'm one of Professor Reed's students. I work part-time here. I think the professor has had a little too much to drink. I can help her upstairs to one of the lounge areas to rest. The moment Leo touches her, Evelyn's body goes rigid. For a second, her mask of composure slips, but she quickly regains her icy demeanor. I don't need your help. Her cold tone makes Leo flinch. Professor, I was worried about you. Worried about me? Leo, we have a professional relationship. You're overstepping. She turns her gaze from him to me, her voice softening. Ethan, he's just one of my students. His family has financial trouble, so I've tried to help him out a bit. He gets carried away sometimes. Don't pay him any mind. Unfortunately for her, Leo doesn't recognize that she's trying to protect him. His face darkens with resentment, and he glares at me. So what if I'm just her student? Is it a crime to care about her? You're her fiancé, and you see that she's not feeling well, but you don't do anything. Instead, you stand here picking on me. Some fiancé you are. As the words leave his mouth, a visible wave of panic washes over Evelyn's face. I watch her for a long moment, then let a slow, condescending smile spread across my lips. You're so concerned about my fiancé, I say to Leo. Does that mean you want my position? You want to be the one marrying her? I find the idea so amusing I almost laugh. Then I raise my hand and slap him hard across the face. Leo's skin is pale, almost translucent. I, on the other hand, spend half my life in a gym. The crack of my palm against his cheek echoes in the quiet alcove. A bright red handprint immediately blossoms on his skin, already beginning to swell. A flash of pain crosses Evelyn's face. Not for me, but for him. She hides it in an instant, taking my hand in hers. Ethan, darling, did you hurt your hand? Why bother with some broke kid who hasn't even graduated yet? She turns back to Leo, her voice sharp. Get out of here. Can't you see you're upsetting my fiancé? Leo clutches his swollen cheek, his eyes burning with hatred. You hit me? Just because you're her fiancé, just because you're the heir to Sterling Industries, you think you have a right to hit me? Why does someone as amazing as Professor Reed have to marry someone she doesn't even love? You're trapping her. Last time, because I'd switched the glasses, I never got to hear his ridiculous, heroic little speech. Evelyn's expression shifts from fear to anger and back again as she struggles to control the situation. Leo, don't you know your place? Who are you to speak to my fiancé that way? You're off the research project tomorrow. Go home and think about what you've done. She finishes her tirade and immediately turns to me, reaching for my arm with a placating smile. Ethan, this time, I'm not letting her touch me. The thought is sickening. I step back. I put on a mask of magnanimity. It's our engagement party, Evelyn. We should all be happy. Let the kids share in our good fortune. I turned to Leo. Tomorrow's research presentation is a huge step for American scholarship in the field. It will be a major loss for him to miss it. I fixed Leo with a hard stare. As punishment, you can take Miss Reed upstairs to rest. You're a server. You should know how to take care of someone, right? The jealousy vanished from Leo's eyes, replaced by a poorly concealed glee. He lowered his head, not wanting me to see his triumphant smile. Of course, sir. I'll take good care of Professor Reed. You can trust that I won't neglect her the way some people do. Evelyn, her eyes already glazed over, finally stopped pushing him away. Her entire body sagged against his. I watched them walk toward the elevators, a cold smirk playing on my lips. Sure enough, Leo took Evelyn all the way to a bedroom, or rather a staff locker room. He was clever, choosing an obscure corner of the hotel where no one from the bustling party would think to look. I followed them, my footsteps silent on the carpeted hallway. As I neared the room, I could hear Evelyn's furious voice from within. Leo, you drugged me. How could you? I'm your professor. His voice was a soothing murmur. I've loved you for years, Professor. And you love me too, don't you? Evelyn, why do you keep pushing me away? Is it because I'm just a poor student? Is it because he, Ethan Sterling, is some high society heir? I scoffed. I founded my first company on my own while he was probably still in high school. Evelyn's angry protests grew weaker, replaced by softer, more indistinct sounds of pleasure. Without a sound, I slipped away, and on my way out, I made sure to jam the lock behind me. Back at the party, I acted as if nothing had happened, mingling and chatting with the guests. I watched the hands on my watch slowly tick by, a cruel smile on my face. Before long, Evelyn's mother, Eleanor, approached me, her expression pinched with annoyance. Ethan, darling, I haven't seen Evelyn for a while. Do you know where she went? It's not safe for a young woman to be off on her own. Why aren't you keeping a closer eye on her? We weren't even married yet, and she was already pulling the mother-in-law act. I felt a surge of contempt, but kept my expression pleasant. Evelyn isn't a big drinker, Eleanor. She had a couple of glasses and felt a little dizzy. I had one of the servers help her to a lounge to rest. And you just let her get drunk? Eleanor wasn't letting it go. She placed a hand on my arm, her grip surprisingly firm. Ethan, I don't mean to criticize, but you're really not acting like a proper fiancé tonight. If it were anyone else, I would never allow my Evelyn to marry him. It was just like last time. No matter what happened, it was always my fault. They chipped away at me, made me feel worthless, until I was grateful for any crumb of affection they offered. It's how they convinced me to sign over control of my assets. But this was our engagement party. A scene wouldn't do anyone any good. I bowed my head, playing the part one always had. You're right, Eleanor. I'm sorry. I'll go find her right now. I searched the main ballroom on the first floor, then the guest lounges on the second. Of course, Evelyn was nowhere to be found. I rushed back to her parents, my voice laced with panic. Mr. and Mrs. Reed, I can't find her. Evelyn is gone. My frantic announcement cut through the party's cheerful din. Hotel security was alerted immediately. Her parents began a desperate search, but the main event spaces were empty of her. Finally, someone noticed the jammed door to the employee locker room. From inside, the unmistakable, breathy sounds of intimacy were clearly audible, causing a few guests to blush and exchange knowing glances. I feigned outrage, my voice booming through the hall. Who has the audacity? A common server, carrying on like this during my engagement party? This is an insult to me and to the Reed family. Evelyn's father, his face a thundercloud, snarled, knocked the door down. The door burst open to reveal a scene of chaos. Clothes were strewn across the floor. My jaw tightened, my eyes dark, as I strode toward the large privacy screen in the corner. Behind me, a crowd of curious guests pushed in, eager for a glimpse of the scandal. The two on the small cot behind the screen were so entangled they didn't even notice our arrival. Evelyn, I said, my voice trembling with practiced disbelief. What are you doing? A shriek tore from Evelyn's throat. She finally realized what was happening and shoved Leo off of her, frantically grabbing at a blanket to cover the constellation of dark bruises on her neck and collarbones. Everyone in that room was a veteran of the social scene. They knew exactly what they were looking at. Leo, recovering first, pulled on his pants and stood in front of her, a pathetic attempt at a shield. Evelyn's father was practically purple with rage. Today is your engagement to Ethan. How could you do this? How could you bring such shame upon us? I chose that moment to deliver my line, my eyes welling with tears. Evelyn, if you didn't want to marry me, you could have just said so. We could have called it off. How can a Sterling family, ever hold our heads up after this. Without the Sterling family's backing, Evelyn Reed would never have achieved half of what she had. Now we would see, without me, just how far would her great love for Leo Vance take her. At the mention of a broken engagement, her father lunged forward and slapped Leo so hard the kid stumbled backward. Who the hell are you? Seducing my daughter, you piece of trash. Leo turned his face away, his eyes downcast, refusing to meet Mr. Reed's furious gaze. That image of him, so vulnerable and persecuted, seemed to ignite something in Evelyn. All pretense of the poised, respectable professor vanished. In front of everyone, she took Leo's hand, lacing their fingers together, and looked at him with raw adoration. There was no seduction. We're in love. She turned to her father, her voice ringing with defiance. I love Leo. I don't care where he comes from. I will always love him. If it weren't for this goddamn arranged marriage, I would have been with him from the start. You. Her father was so apoplectic he couldn't form words. My face fell, my expression a perfect mask of sorrow. All those years we had together, Evelyn, was that all a lie? We grew up together. I always knew you were the only one for me, and you humiliate me like this. She looked straight at me, her eyes filled with pure disgust. Ethan, you can't possibly believe I would ever love someone like you? A puppy who comes running every time I snap my fingers? Watching you grovel for my affection wasn't romantic. It was pathetic. That was the answer I wanted. I feigned a look of utter devastation and turned, pushing my way through the crowd and out of the ballroom. Just outside, her mother caught up to me, her voice a placating coo. Ethan, sweetie, Evelyn is just confused. That boy has her bewitched. Once the novelty wears off, she'll come back to you, you'll see. Besides, she added, her tone shifting, a man of your stature will have a few women on the side eventually. Evelyn only has this one. And honestly, it's your fault for not being able to hold her interest. She's a university professor, for heaven's sake. She meets men far more brilliant than you every day. The same old script. Twist everything until it's all my fault. As I was trying to think of a polite way to tell her to go to hell, my driver pulled the car around. I managed a weak, pained smile. I'm sorry, Eleanor. I need some time to think. When I got home, my mother was waiting for me. Her face was etched with worry. Ethan, your father and I were wrong. We never should have pushed you into this. To be humiliated like that at your own engagement party. There are countless wonderful women in this city who would be thrilled to marry you. Don't let Evelyn Reed break your heart. But calling off the wedding would be letting Evelyn win. A love without obstacles is a love that's never been tested. Let's see what she's willing to sacrifice. I offer my mother a reassuring smile. Mom, I'm not as fragile as you think. The next day, I paid a visit to the Reed family estate. As I expected, the scandal was the talk of the town, from the penthouses of the Upper East Side to the gossip blogs online. The brilliant professor caught with a student at her own engagement party. When Evelyn saw me, her face contorted with impatience. We weren't married yet, so what if I slept with someone else? What is this, the dark ages? Do you need a doctor to verify my virginity before you'll be satisfied? Apparently, that wasn't enough to vent her rage. She continued, her voice rising to a shout. Ethan Sterling, we've known each other our whole lives. Did you have to make this a citywide spectacle? Did you have to humiliate me like this? Her words sent her father into another fit of fury. You're still not sorry? You're completely shameless. I think you've lost your mind, he roared. Someone bring me my belt. He was serious. He stormed back with a thick leather belt and brought it down hard across Evelyn's back. A sharp crack echoed in the cavernous foyer. Evelyn, who had been coddled her entire life, had never experienced pain like that. After just a few lashes, she was screaming like a cornered animal. The last time I saw her, I was in 100 times more pain than this. This was just a small down payment on my revenge. Her screams brought her mother running. Seeing her husband striking their daughter again and again, she threw herself over Evelyn's body, weeping. Stop it. That's our only child. Are you trying to kill her? Then she turned and knelt before me. Ethan, I know you've always been the sensible one. Evelyn is still your fiancée. Can you bear to see her suffer like this? Who could you possibly marry that would be better for you than her? I'm thinking of your future, Ethan. She scrambled forward, trying to grab my sleeve, but I sidestepped her. Her face froze for a second before she continued her pleading. Think of her career. She's a full professor at Northwood at such a young age. Her potential is limitless. What a joke. Every single one of Evelyn's achievements have been boosted by the Sterling family's influence and funding. But if all she cared about was love, then by all means, let her chase it. Finally, Evelyn, unable to watch her parents grovel, grit her teeth. Ethan Sterling, don't push it. If you have any guts, let's just cancel the engagement. A strange, slow smile spread across my face. I turned to her father. Mr. Reed, I've given it some thought. Marriage is a serious commitment. Since you're all so insistent, I suppose I have no choice. Her father looked surprised, clearly not expecting me to give in so easily. But I continued, my voice cold. I want Evelyn Reed on her knees, apologizing to me. Mr. Reed spun around and roared at his daughter. You heard him. Apologize. Did Evelyn know how much she stood to lose by not marrying me? Of course she did. But she was still living in a fantasy world where I was her devoted puppy, the old Ethan who would do anything for her. She never dreamed I would demand her humiliation. She was reluctant, but her father's bodyguards were persuasive. They forced her to her knees. Ethan, I was wrong, she muttered through clenched teeth. I was careless and fell for Leo's scheme, and I failed to control myself. Then she leaned closer, whispering so only I could hear, I'm warning you, don't take this too far. Come after me all you want, but you leave Leo out of this. I just gave her a look of pure contempt. I wondered what she was thinking in my past life when she forced me to bash my head against Leo's tombstone. A few days later, Leo Vance took it upon himself to find me. When he arrived, he looked pale and fragile, as if a strong wind would blow him over. He looked like a victim before he'd even said a word. Mr. Sterling, everything is my fault. Please, don't take it out on Professor Reed. I was the one with the twisted intentions. I deserve to be punished, but please don't let this create a rift between you and the professor. Before I could respond, an unwelcome voice cut through the air. Ethan Sterling, are you still harassing him? Evelyn stormed into my office, planting herself in front of Leo as if I were some kind of monster. If I hadn't found Leo today, who knows what you would have done to him? Don't think I don't know what you've been up to these past few days. From behind Evelyn's back, where she couldn't see, Leo gave me a look of pure, triumphant provocation. I was done arguing with Evelyn. In her eyes, I was the villain, and Leo was the innocent she needed to protect. It was pointless. After that little drama, she became dead set on breaking the engagement, even threatening to harm herself if her parents didn't agree. In the end, her mother couldn't bear it and knelt before her father, begging him to relent. Defeated, he finally consented. The day she came to my office to formally end things, she held her head high, a smug look on her face. See? In the end, I'm the one who's dumping you. I just watch her in silence. To her, my quiet demeanor must have seemed like heartbreak. What are you looking at? That pathetic, wounded look of yours is what I find most disgusting. I could never be with someone as cruel and manipulative as you. As if I was born to make Leo Vance's life miserable. Miss Reed, I think you've misunderstood something, I said coolly, not even looking up from the documents on my desk. I have no feelings for you. Her years of narcissistic self-assurance shattered in an instant. How was that possible? If you didn't love me, why did you always help me whenever my research hit a dead end? I help a lot of researchers. You just happen to be my fiancé, and I happen to have the resources. It was a transaction, nothing more. She lunged at me, her hands like claws, but I easily sidestepped her. After one last, ugly scene, the engagement was officially off. The moment it was done, Evelyn ran straight to Leo. They started appearing everywhere together, flaunting their relationship in labs and at faculty mixers, heedless of the gossip. When her father got word, he threatened to disown her. Evelyn was unfazed. Fine, disown me. I was only ever a tool for you to curry favor with powerful families anyway. I'll do much better without you. When that news reached me, I actually laughed out loud. What an idiot. Without her family's money and influence, what could a fraud of a professor possibly accomplish? Somehow, in just 6 months, Leo managed to charm Evelyn's parents into accepting a poor kid from a no-name town into their family. On the day of their wedding, they co-published a paper that was hailed as a monumental breakthrough, solving a problem that had stumped researchers for years. The day after the wedding, Evelyn showed up at my office, glowing and triumphant, with Leo in tow. She tilted her chin up, looking down her nose at me. Ethan Sterling, regret not marrying me now? You could have had a piece of this glory, but you just had to be difficult. I couldn't help but smile at her arrogant display. Regret it? Miss Reed, or should I say Mrs. Vance, you were the one who insisted on canceling our engagement. Why are you here now? Are you the one with regrets? At that, Leo finally spoke up. Mr. Sterling, please don't be angry. Even though you and Evelyn weren't destined to be husband and wife, you can still be friends. We came here today to give you that opportunity. I suppressed a wave of nausea. Oh, and what opportunity is that? Evelyn looked at me as if she were bestowing a great charity. You know how important our new research is. We need more funding to continue our work. If you're willing to invest, I suppose I could bring myself to be friends with you. I laughed coldly. Is that how you ask for help? And you honestly think I want to be your friend? Her face twisted in fury. You really think you're the only one who can fund us? Ethan Sterling, I'm giving you a chance. Don't be a fool. Leo chimed in, ever her loyal cheerleader. He's right, Mr. Sterling. If you miss this opportunity, you'll regret it for the rest of your life. How many people are there in the world like Evelyn? You should cherish this. I'd heard enough of their nonsense. My voice dropped. I'm not interested. Show them out. Evelyn and Leo were unceremoniously escorted from my office. As she left, Evelyn shot me a look of pure venom over her shoulder. I just smiled. Their good days were numbered. What Evelyn didn't know was that ever since our engagement party, I had used my knowledge of the past to find and fund a true scientific genius, a brilliant researcher named Dr. Maya Jensen. Why are you helping me? We've never even met, Maya had asked, her eyes sharp and wary when I first proposed my partnership. Because we have a common enemy, Evelyn Reed. I know she's been using her connections to exploit your work for years. Work with me, and I can give you the resources to destroy her reputation. I laid out my proposal and waited. A slow smile spread across her face. All right, Mr. Sterling. It's a pleasure doing business with you. In my past life, if Evelyn hadn't been so ruthless in stealing the credit for others' work, Maya Jensen would have been a star years earlier. The groundbreaking paper that Evelyn and Leo had just published was, in fact, entirely Maya's. After the scandal of our broken engagement, Evelyn had been desperate to prove herself. Just as I'd predicted, she'd gone to Maya, her junior colleague, and pressured her for her latest findings. And, following my instructions, Maya had handed them over. Evelyn, hungry for glory, had rushed to publish. Let her enjoy the fame and fortune for a few days. Over the next week, with a little push from my PR team, stories began to surface online questioning the integrity of Evelyn's work. At first, no one believed them. But then the evidence started mounting. Irrefutable proof of plagiarism. Then came the final blow. Several of Evelyn's former graduate students came forward, creating a viral Twitter thread detailing how she had systematically exploited them and stolen their research. Now, Evelyn Reed was a pariah. She was a rat everyone saw on the street, a target for public scorn. Thief, how dare you show your face in public? People like you are why our country is falling behind. You poison everything. In my past life, I had carefully protected her reputation. Now, every news outlet and social media platform was filled with stories of her corruption and academic fraud. Her family pulled every string they had to suppress the story, but the damage was done. The scandal eventually died down, but Evelyn's career was in ruins. Her self-esteem, already fragile, shattered completely. She turned on Leo, flying into a rage at the slightest provocation. Even you dare to look down on me? Without me, you'd still be a broke student. You'd never be living in a house like this. Soon after, Evelyn started frequenting exclusive clubs and parties, her private life becoming a messy, public spectacle. Leo, her great love, was forgotten in a corner somewhere. I thought her love was supposed to be some epic, undying passion. In the end, her white moonlight just became a stain she wanted to scrub away. A message popped up on my phone from my private investigator. Leo Vance and a woman named Chloe just checked into the Equinox Hotel. I drove to the small apartment Leo still kept on the side. Listening to the sound coming from inside, I had a laugh. After a few weeks of Evelyn's abuse, he couldn't take it anymore and was using her money to cheat on her. Chloe was attractive and knew how to flatter a man's ego, a world away from the new, shrewish Evelyn. It was no wonder Leo had run straight to her. In a moment of passion, I heard Leo's breathless voice through the thin wall. Chloe, let's leave this city. Let's just run away together. I can't stand that crazy bitch anymore. I anonymously sent a text message with the address to Evelyn. A drama this good deserved its star performer. As I predicted, she came tearing over to the apartment. She arrived with a couple of her father's security guards just as Leo and Chloe were walking out, arm in arm. Seeing them together, Evelyn's face went white with rage. She marched up to Leo and slapped him. You bastard. I give you everything, and you repay me by sleeping with this trash. For the first time, Leo stood up to her. You can cheat, so why can't I? When you were hooking up with all those men at your clubs, did you ever think about me? Evelyn, you told me you would only ever love me. Evelyn didn't get angry. She laughed a high, unhinged sound. Me cheat? Don't you remember that you were the other man in the first place? You have no right to accuse me of anything. I'm rich, I'm powerful. I can have any man I want. Did you really think you were special? Chloe, seeing the argument escalate, wisely slipped away into the night. Leo had always believed Evelyn loved him so much that they were equals. He was only now realizing that to her. He was just a pet she kept on a leash. Evelyn, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. He whimpered, falling to his knees in the middle of the sidewalk. I was wrong. We can go home, and you can punish me however you want. This was pathetic. I thought he might at least have some backbone. Bored, I walked away from the scene. Their great love had curdled into mutual disgust. The drama ended with Leo being dragged back to Evelyn's house like a prisoner. I wonder what the Evelyn of my last life would have thought of this outcome. In the end, Leo couldn't stand her torture. He managed to escape and came straight to me. I helped him arrange a press conference. On camera, the bruises and scars covering his body were shocking. One by one, he detailed Evelyn's horrific acts of abuse. He told them how she had locked him in a dark basement, tormenting him daily. That was the end. With my help amplifying the story, Evelyn's reputation was utterly destroyed. Soon after, the IRS launched an investigation into her family's finances, uncovering years of tax evasion. They were forced to sell their mansion and move into a cramped apartment. Evelyn couldn't handle it. One day, she showed up at my office begging. She was disheveled, her hair unwashed, a far cry from the immaculate professor of my memories. She knelt on the floor before me like a dog, her voice a desperate whine. Ethan, we grew up together. It was all my fault. I was the one who couldn't tell the difference between a diamond and a piece of glass. I'm the one who disgraced you. It was all me. Please, just help me. I'll do anything. I'll sleep with you. Just help me. Her delusional words made me sneer. How many men have you slept with now? And you think you're not too dirty to get in my bed? My words seemed to snap something in her. She looked up, her eyes bloodshot with rage. Ethan Sterling, you are a heartless bastard. We used to be so good together. I took a slow sip of the tea my assistant had brought me. Good together? That was before the disaster you made of our engagement party. Now all I feel for you is disgust. The last glimmer of hope died in her eyes, and she collapsed onto the floor. Get her out of here. When Evelyn returned empty-handed, her father took matters into his own hands. He sold her to a wealthy tycoon with a reputation for sadistic tastes, securing a handsome sum for himself. Evelyn couldn't endure that kind of torture. A week later, she ended her own life by jumping from the penthouse of the tycoon's skyscraper. After she died, I visited her grave. I just stood there for a long time, looking at the name carved in the stone. I never thought it would end like this, I said to the empty air. I hope we never meet again in the next life. The debts of my past life were finally settled. Leo was there too. He saw me, but only looked surprised for a moment before turning his gaze back to the grave. You know, I really did love her once, he said quietly. I loved her confidence, her brilliance. But then I found out it was all a lie. Even after everything she did to me, I still wanted to come and say goodbye. Their story of love and hate was finally over. My mother, hearing I'd spent all afternoon at Evelyn's grave, worried I was spiraling. That night, she ambushed me with a series of photos. This is the youngest daughter of the Chun family. This is the heiress to the Liu conglomerate. And this is... Mom, stop, I said, gently pushing the photos away. I'm not interested in romance anymore. She looked at me, confused. Are you planning to never marry? Never have children? One day, when you see everyone else surrounded by their kids and grandkids, won't you be envious? You've only had one bad relationship, Ethan. It's not the end of the world. A man needs someone to take care of him. I once dreamed of having a family with Evelyn, of growing old together. In the end, all I got was a ruined name and a violent death. I met my mother's gaze, my voice firm. Mom, life is vast and unpredictable. I've seen researchers who devoted their entire lives to their work, never marrying, and gave everything to this country. I've also seen loving couples turn into bitter enemies, and old men with dozens of children die alone. My father, who had been listening from the doorway, sighed. But son, how can your mother and I not worry? We fully support your desire to contribute to the country, but that doesn't mean you can't get married. I took my mother's hand. Mom, my mind is made up. I had the power to control my own life. Why would I ever tie it to someone else again? My parents were silent for a long time. I braced myself for an argument. Finally, my father just clapped me on the shoulder. Your mother and I aren't that rigid, son. If this is what you've decided, then go for it. We'll support you. In the years that followed, I donated most of my company's profits to scientific research foundations. During that time, I started seeing more and more Dr. Maya Jensen. Back at the institute again? Did you miss me? She asked one day, peeking out from behind a piece of equipment, her eyes sparkling with mischief. After Evelyn's cold arrogance, Maya's direct, playful confidence was a revelation. I felt a blush creep up my neck. Seeing my reaction, she pressed on. Mr. Sterling, I've been chasing you for a long time now. Are you really not going to give me a chance? Yes, I said quietly. I've considered it. I turned and started walking toward the exit. Oh, I knew you'd say, wait, you considered it? Does that mean you're saying yes? She caught up to me, chattering excitedly the entire way to the car. I had finally met someone worth sharing a lifetime with. In my last life, I was lost in a meaningless drama of love and betrayal, and I ended up with nothing. This life, I became one of the country's leading entrepreneurs and philanthropists. I finally had a new life, one that was truly my own.